Hello lovely people, I'm Catherine and welcome to Park Home Life. In this episode I'm going to take you on a lovely walk around a National Trust property that's not very far away from where I live, called Stour Head, and it's a big estate. It's 2,600 and something acres with a huge lake and some buildings and beautiful woodland area and fields and so on. And I actually went a couple of weeks ago and filmed this for you, and the colours on the trees were wonderful, and it was a lovely blue sunny day, and Stella came with me, of course. Some of the segments I could actually talk while I was there, but some of them, since it was quite busy with people, I just recorded without sound, and I've done voiceover over them later, so I hope it makes a cohesive and interesting whole for you to watch. And then after that I'm going to give you a little update on what I've been doing. No, I have not moved my living room furniture around. You will be amazed to hear, possibly. And I'm also going to give you a little glimpse of my outside space and where I've set myself up to do eco-printing and so forth. So that'll come afterwards. And then at the end I'll show you the books I bought that I refer to in the tour of the Stour Head Gardens. So enjoy watching and I'll see you at the end. When Stour Head first opened in 1740, it was described as a living work of art. It was designed by Henry Hoare II, who was known as Henry the Magnificent and inspired by his travels around Europe. So here's a little welcome thing, I don't know what you call it, some boards. So it's telling you what's on throughout autumn, different activities. Stella's whining, she's literally just there. I'll just show you. She's tied there to that bench. I'm actually filming this on the way out. In that M&S bag are my second-hand books. And on the way in it was really busy here. So this is what the National Trust are doing to combat climate change. Stells. If you'd like to read that, you can obviously pause. And here are all the different buildings on the estate. There's Alfred's Tower, which was named for Alfred the Great. And they're not only the buildings, but Bonham Wood is where the Temple of Apollo is. We have to come back in spring and see the daffodils and the bluebells. And the estate, as you can see there at the top, is 2,650 acres. And then just if I go back a little bit and show you this. Oh dear, someone's sneezing. Tells you about Stour Head as a home. And it says Stour Head House has been home to some incredible women over the last 300 years. Whether wives, mothers or grandmothers in the Hoare banking family, each lady of the house brought their own ideas of how home should look and feel. Those who lived here aren't the only women who made Stour Head House what it is today. Amongst the paintings by notable female artists are those by pioneering women who followed their passions and made a name for themselves at a time when just being female was enough to set the odds against them. Visit the house to discover the lives of the women who lived here and the female makers and creators who helped turn this grand country house into a home. So I shall definitely come back and do that one day, when I can leave Stella somewhere safely. So in these areas where I wasn't able to record sound because there were too many people, I'm going to read you some bits and bobs from the Stour Head website. The 18th century was a period of intense excitement in the horticultural world. Many plant collectors set out across the globe and brought back lots of new and exciting species to England. And the initial planting at Stour Head was undertaken by a team of 50 gardeners who planted oak, beech, sycamore, Spanish chestnut, ash and holm oak. And Henry Hoare said, "The greens should be ranged together in large masses, as the shades are in painting, to contrast the dark masses with light ones, and to relieve each dark mass itself with a little sprinkling of lighter greens here and there." And as you're walking around, you feel that it has very much been designed, although it's a huge woodland and lake and fields and so on. It doesn't feel like a natural landscape, you know. I mean, it's beautiful. I'm not saying it's not beautiful, but you feel a distinct difference between a natural woodland that has been planted maybe a long time ago, but you know, things seed themselves and die and so on. But this is very well tended and managed since its initial design in the mid-18th century. Henry Hoare's grandson, who was called Sir Richard Colt Hoare, he inherited the garden towards the end of the 18th century, and he made some changes to the design, and he removed some of the structures. There's lots of different little buildings dotted around, but some of them were removed. And he went travelling in Europe himself, and when he came back he removed some of the trees that had been planted by his grandfather, oh there's Stella, and introduced some other species. Many of the broadleaf deciduous trees, the beeches, the acers, the oaks, tulip trees, lime trees and so on were introduced by Sir Richard Colt. And he established around 90,000 trees, 90,000 trees in the space of 13 years. That's some serious planting. And also several of the rhododendron species that I mentioned at one point were introduced because they were a delightful rarity at that time. But unfortunately, like I said, some of them have become invasive over the years and have escaped into, you know, other areas and are actually a real problem. And here's another view of the lake and the reflections in the water. Colt, it was Richard Colt. You'll see later a little greenhouse area with pelargoniums, which are commonly known as geraniums, but they are in fact a different species. Sorry, gardening pedantry coming to the fore. And he owned 600 varieties of pelargonium, and nowadays they've got about 100 varieties, I think. And the conservatory that I will take you into later is not his original one. That was destroyed, but it's you know, been recreated. And little box balls in the foreground clipped. Look at this beautiful tree. It's huge. Well, it's huge by, I don't know if you can get an impression of size. I can now talk because it's a more quiet area. All the rest has to be voiceover because it's so busy. I'm just gonna walk around it slowly. A little bit. Oh, it's sort of twisting as it's growing up. Look at the bark. Goes all the way up there. You're a little bird. And there's the top lake through the trees there. And then this one that's been left like a totem. See the top of it? Woodpecker. See the woodpecker hole? It's about a couple of feet down from where it goes pale grey. On the left there's a little hole. People coming. Don't know if you can see right up there in the distance there's some cows. Try and zoom. I don't know if it goes blurry when I zoom. Just where the sunny patch is. Can you see them? Oops, no, it's wobbly. I'm back. I must try and find a solution for being less wobbly, handheld. I know there are gimbals and things you can get and attach to yourself, but then when you walk, they wobble even more. This is a lovely little place here. It feels nice. You can just hear people in the distance, but apart from that it's just the birds and the trees. I'm going to walk on a bit. Obviously the further away you get from the car park, the quieter it gets. I think it's half term, there's quite a lot of children, which is lovely for them, but you know. I'm going to walk on a little bit up this path. Come on, Stills. I've got her tied to my bag. This is another thing I have to... She has to stay on her lead. So I could have 2 hands free. I did that. And to find that, I think there are things you can put around your waist with clips on to attach dogs to. Don't pull, Stels. I hear the water running. I hear children coming behind me. Oh, look at this big pile of logs. Don't walk in front of me, you'll trip me up. I'm not sure if this goes all the way around or how far it is, but we'll just go and we'll see. There's people coming, I'll stop again. Okay. We circumnavigated a locked gate. Another lady told me about it, so you know. And then we crossed a field and there are a few people here with dogs loose. The cows are right up the other end, so I've let her off for a little bit. I'm just going to walk along here and show you back up towards the lake as we come up this hill. So I'm huffing and puffing again. It wasn't a very steep hill, but we came up across there. I was right over the other side before. These lovely old trees. You can see the sun is shining up there. It's cloudy here where I am. There's a lovely view through there to the lake. Some people coming up behind me. I try and walk smoothly so it doesn't wobble too much. Keeping one eye on Stella. She did find some fox poo in the field. Seems to be her new thing. I mean, there were foxes in France, but I don't remember her rolling in poo all that often. I think she's discovered... Stells! I think she's discovered it once. And now it's a new hobby. This hedge is getting a little bit high. Look at the patch of... You'll see in a minute when I get past these brambles. And there's a path going up there as well. You see there are these... Stells, come here! Little waymark paths. See with the little arrows. I don't really want to go up there. Stella does. Stells, we're staying here. Come on. Come on down. Good girl. I have to show you this view up here. Wait there, Stells. Good girl. To just show you this view. You see that orange maple right down on the water's edge there. I walk round under that. It's a beautiful tree. And the autumn colours in the distance there. Such a lovely day. I'm just out in a jumper. It's warm and fairly still. Right, I'll turn you off and walk on a bit because it's uphill, so they'll only be wobbling and huffing and puffing otherwise. And there's some people catching me up. Okay, it says you can go in, even though there's a bull. But I don't really fancy it, to be honest. So I'm going to turn around and go back down and cut across. But I just wanted to show you the monument. Oops. Sorry about that. I've got Stella in my hand again and she pulled me, so I dropped the phone. I just wanted to show you the monument against the blue sky. You see right on the top is the sun. I'm just a bit of a wimp about bulls. Many years ago a friend and I were chased by, not bulls, but a herd of bullocks. Because we walked through a field which we were perfectly entitled to as a public footpath. And the dogs were on leads, but still it was quite scary. So anyway, it's now gone blurry, sorry about that. There we go, it's because I'm wobbling. Stella, you stay. So yeah, I'm not going in there. Call me a wimp. But yeah, the warning sign. So I'm going to turn back the way I came. And a little way down there was a little path cutting through to what is now my left. So I'm going to go back down this leafy path a little way and cut back towards the lake and the main house. Just wanted to show you these beech trees. I mentioned before the beech trees in the woods near where I live. I just love them. I think if I had to pick a favourite, look how majestic they are. And the lovely path carpeted with their leaves. There's a lot of rhododendron here that I see they're keeping short. It's very invasive. It was introduced, I believe, by the Victorians, and it's escaped into many parts of this part of the world and become very invasive. I just walked down with a motorbike in the distance. That's not very soothing to hear. Look at the view down there. And the path snaking down, so we're going to go down that way. You see there the little, did you see that going by, a little electric vehicle that takes people around that can't walk or can walk but couldn't make the walk. So there's lovely old chaps and old ladies, old probably my age, driving them and taking people on little tours. It's just lovely. Down through there, the way the sunlight's coming through the trees there, making patterns. It's lovely up here. It's certainly worth the walk to get up here away from the crowds a little bit. Right, come on then, Stells, let's go on a bit. Look at this mark in the moss on this trunk. Just been, wonder why. Do you see? There's some moss that's brown and then there's these distinct squares. Wonder if someone's made them. They do look made by a human hand, don't they? Apart from that, the lovely moss growing on this beech trunk. And some lichen. You see the lichen? Okay, there's people coming, so I'll turn off and go on. This is a video about me saying there's people coming. Okay, I'll come back in a little while. I just had to show you this beech. The trunk, I would say, is maybe a metre in diameter, something like that. Good yard. Lovely, beautiful, grey, straight trunk. And I'll take you right up into the canopy against the blue sky. A lovely old tree. And the lichen and the moss growing around the base. I said before about the beeches in the woods near where I live that this remind me of elephant's feet. Well, that's an elephant's wearing a green fluffy slipper. I just wanted to show you this view through the lake. I couldn't talk here because there were so many people coming up and down the path, so I'm now doing voiceover sitting on my sofa. But I'm high above the lake on the far side and the view through the trees. But then there's this lovely fork in the path. Sorry, I spun a bit quick. With this beautiful acer that was losing its leaves. And it was some of those leaves that were on the ground there that I collected. We've just sat down on this little bench in the sun. Hello, Stella. Just to have a look at the view. I'll turn you around and show you the view. If I can do that. You'll see me peering over my glasses so I can see. Oh, sorry about my finger. Don't know how to turn it round. No, I have to stop and start. There's the view. And I hope I can put the two clips next to each other when I come to edit them. And the sun on the water. You can hear children in the distance. There's all kinds of activities going on because I'm here. By the time you see this, this will be a week or two ago for you. So it's coming up to half term, to Halloween. And there's all kinds of trails, pumpkin carving and that kind of thing going on for the children. And there's also lots of little, they can get an activity sheet when they come in, I believe, because then there are little, do you see that little post there with a sign on? Little activities for them to do going around to teach them about nature. It's quite low. I wanted to show you the little island. See the little island? And there's an inscription on this bench. I will show you. I can't read it. There's some lichen. This is 1900. Say March 1900. Oh, is it a gravestone? I'm not sure. these dates? Or is it just a dedication? Vera I can make out, and the name Hall. Well, it's definitely a bench, so I think I'm okay sitting on it. The sun's just gone behind a cloud, so maybe I can show you now without you getting too much glare. The lake. The water moving in the breeze. Just beautiful here. Got Stella firmly attached because she'd love to go in there for a swim. And she is, and also she can see children over there. She wants to go and play. She huffs. Okay, so I'm going to get up off my bench and make my way around to show you the island once more because it's so beautiful. I'll just come to this little building. I can't remember what any of these places are called. We'll just go on a little bit. It's right on the shores of the lake. I've got Stella attached to my bag again, so I'm trying not to wobble. Stella, look at that big urn. Up on the hill there, do you see that? I'll look up what they're called and put it on the screen. These buildings. I don't know if you can go in it. Let's have a look. At the carvings up there. Here. Stairs. Come undone. The Temple of Flora. Stella. Good girl. Stella, come back. Is it open? No, it's locked. Sorry, it's all gone very wobbly. If you can see in through the window. Stella, come here. There's sculptures in there. I do think you did used to be able to go in there, but I don't know why they've locked it. My reflection in the window is me peering over the top of my glasses so I can see what I'm looking at. I'll just go round. You see that little bridge there? Little stone bridge with grass growing over it. Look where I'm going because there's steps, and there's also a little cockapoo in my way. I want to show you over there, look. Little buildings everywhere. There's one in the middle there, and then to the right, further back, is another building. And now there's people coming again. Walk along a bit. I won't talk because there's people sitting on a bench. See the swans? Swans mate for life. Just saying. Just saying. Stells, come on. No. Stella, come on. And down there, there's some gunnera. Do you see that big plant down there? That's called gunnera. It grows where the ground's very wet, in a bog basically. And all that growth is from 1 year. It goes completely back down to the ground for the winter. And those are actually quite small. I've seen much bigger ones down in Cornwall where it's even milder than here in the winters. The leaves get, a yard across, tree. Stella's now around my legs. I have to do a turn. Come on, Stars. There. You see the gunner there going around the edge of the water. Just in a little walled kind of kitchen fruit garden area. Just wanted to show you these big rhubarb forcing jars. I think this whole bed is planted with rhubarb, or was. Aren't they gorgeous? With a little cap on, so you can take the cap off and then the rhubarb will push up towards the light and you'll get lovely long sweet juicy stems. And then the fruit trees trained against this south facing, west facing, sunny wall. Just pick my bag up. I bought a couple of second-hand books. There's a second-hand bookshop. I will show you them. They're quite heavy, but I couldn't leave them. Look at this little lean-to greenhouse. Stella's, come out of the way, you're in front of me. Stella, good girl. No, come the other side. There's a good girl. This little lean-to glass house. We'll walk through and see what's in there. It doesn't say no dogs anywhere. Little pelargoniums, they're overwintering in here. Look, up against this beautiful old brick wall. All different kinds of pelargoniums, the scented leaved ones. Styles, come on. Good girl. Lovely. Absolutely beautiful. I wonder how old this greenhouse is. I wonder if these are stock plants that they take cuttings from for the displays, and there's also plant sales here, so maybe it's for that as well. Here we go, here's something about it. I'll show you. So Stourhead's original collection of pelargoniums was once considered the best in the world. It was put together by Sir Richard Colthour in the early 1800s and included over 600 varieties. So if you want to pause, you can read the rest. It says sadly his collection disappeared after he died and the conservatory was later dismantled. And yes, these are, I know they're commonly called geraniums, these plants. There's one that's more maybe recognisable as a more common kind. But they're not geraniums, they're pelargoniums. Geraniums are a hardy perennial. Hardy in, you know, this part of the world. Pelargoniums are not hardy, although they are perennials. And I'm not a great fan of the kind of bedding ones, you know, that are commonly sold, the red ones, red flowers, but I do love the scented leaved ones. This one here, look, Pelargonium cross fragrans variegatum. If I had a free hand I would smell the leaves, but I haven't, so I can't. No, I've had a rose scented pelargonium that I left in France. And I also used to have one that smelled, I can't remember its name, but it smelled like Coca-Cola. So, Stell's, she's right around my legs. Also, look at this lovely grating that I'm walking on. Can you go the other side of me, please? There's a great big one. This is Pelargonium acerifolium. So in other words, it's a pelargonium that has leaves like an acer. You can see why. Stella's got her nose between the grating, sniffing. It's lovely against this red brick wall, which will obviously act as a kind of radiator. It will hold the warmth of the sun and then give it back to the plants during the night. So we're going out again. Oh yes, we went in the wrong way, because if we come in this way it says Pelargonium collection displayed according to their year of introduction. Just give you a view of how long this bench is, going back through there. It still doesn't say no dogs, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that they're only allowed on the wider estate and not in the gardens. And we'll just have a peep. And they've cut everything back for the winter. Oh, this big garden. There's strawberries there, strawberry plants growing. I love a walled kitchen garden, and I think there are a few here. I'll have to come back one day without Stella so that I can go around the house as well, and around the formal gardens. I've got some netting up there protecting something, probably brassicas, cabbages and so on. There you go. Let me turn around. I'm now further encumbered by my bag of books. You see the beehives down there through the gate. And some alliums growing here in this formal little hedge in the middle. And then the trees behind. Okay. Well, I think the sun's getting low in the sky and I feel a cup of tea coming on, but I think I'll go home for that. To be sure to get home in the light. I mean, you know, I don't know why I keep saying that. I'm quite happy driving in the dark, but we've been here for a good few hours, so I hope you enjoyed that little walk around Stourhead. I'm back at the top of the lake. You see, this is the spot where everybody takes photographs. And yeah, I'm going to go back up to the entrance now and have a little look at the farm shop and see if there's any nice bread to take home. I do believe they do nice bread here. And yeah, it was lovely of you to accompany me. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, I'll just take you into the kitchen and show you what's different. You can probably already see a glimpse of something if you remember how it was before. Stella is here. I'll just show you her. The source of the noise. You see she is chewing on, it's a yak milk bone that a friend of mine gave her. And she's wearing her new bandana, which Vicky sent her. Thank you, Vicky. Say, Stells, say thank you to Vicky. She says thank you. She's very pleased with it. I think she's looking forward to wearing it around the park and showing it off to all her doggy friends. Anyway, okay, so I got to thinking about Christmas and my children, there they are, and where we're all going to sit. So there'll be 4 of us. There'll be my 2 children and my daughter's boyfriend staying here for Christmas, and myself obviously. And then I saw this little table on Facebook Marketplace and 2 chairs for not very much money and only not even 10 minutes up the road from where I live. So I messaged the lady and she told me how much it measured, and I measured the space and I measured my little car to make sure it would fit in. The legs came off, so it was pretty easy. And so now I've got a little kitchen table, and I'll just show you. It's just, you know, it's just modern, it's not anything. But it's quite sturdy, and it came with its little seat cushions. And it lives here quite happily up against the wall. If you remember, there was that IKEA unit there before, under my little gallery. So that's gone into my shed, and I will go outside in a minute and film. I don't know if I'll talk out there. It depends how many people are around. Otherwise, I'll film and then do a voiceover. So I've now got this little table, and I was looking for a tablecloth, and inspired by turning my Kawandi quilt into a blind, I had this very old quilt that was actually machine pieced and machine quilted. I think it's about 20 years old. Well, you know, old in terms of what I've made. And I thought, well, why not use that as a tablecloth? So that's what I've done. But I just, you know, it's just a table. It's just a sort of piney table. So then what I'm going to do is keep my eyes open, hopefully thrifted, otherwise I don't think they're very expensive new. Get a couple of little wooden folding chairs that can live out in the shed, but then I can pull that out, you know, and we can squeeze 4 of us around there at Christmas time. So that's a new thing in the kitchen. It is nice, you know. It's nice to just sit there and have a cup of tea, or sit there to write a letter, or, you know, to look at your messages, whatever. It's just somewhere different to sit. And I've already had a friend over for lunch, and we've sat there and had our lunch, so that was lovely. So the other thing I've done is make a blind. You will also, if you have paid any attention at all, you know, any attention, there's the pans are up there. They weren't there before. Everything that was on that IKEA thing had to go on the shelf, so I had to have a bit of a rearrangement of those. But you see, I've made a blind for the window, A friend of mine brought me all kinds of offcuts of furnishing fabric. So I've made that in exactly the same way as I made the Coandi blind. And I didn't line it or anything, it was quite thick fabric. And the lovely hairs galloping across it. And you see up there is an ugly old switch that's redundant. So my plan is, I'll take you around slowly. See, those shelves are also now a bit rammed, but you know, it's fine, it works. I got a little basil plant. Take you around slowly to the other window where there is a sheer curtain hanging, because there's a path there and you know people can walk past, and above it is one of my torans, and I'm going to move that toran over to above the hairs to hide that ugly electric thing, and then I'll need something for that. Now that window was a very quick bodge job when I first moved in. That curtain is just pinned to that toran with applique pins and the toran has then got a couple of staples holding it to the wall. So, in the spirit of cutting up my old work, like I did with the Coandi, well that wasn't very old, I'll just go through into here. Sorry it's a bit dark. You see I haven't moved anything around it, it's all the same. You know, it's lasted 2 weeks, it's working well, it's lovely and cosy to sit there in my little corner. I actually swapped ends with Stella and I now sit in that corner. Oh, and I'll just show you my little workbox table there. It's got some sewing bits and bobs in, and then on the top there is what I have been stitching on, which is this little, it's a meditation scroll that I started after we looked at Judy Martin's work back in August. And so that's what I'm stitching on, and that's my little Dresden plate piece that for this moment's just serving as a little tablecloth until it, you know, finds another home. But talking about cutting up work, which is what I was doing, so I've got it laid out over here on my desk. I'll try not to trip over Stella. This piece of work here that you see laid out on my desk was actually twice as wide and half as long, if that makes sense. So it was a rectangle, and it's a piece, it was eco print pieces all collaged together, and the red cut work is madder dyed cloth. Sorry about the bone munching noises in the background. I thought it would be a good idea to keep her out from under my feet while I walk round, but you know, I hadn't thought about the noise. Anyway, yeah, and I started it, I know it's at least 10 years ago, because I started it in a day stitching workshop with my friend Caroline Bell, who's a UK-based eco-printer. And I remember that was in 2014. And it's been hanging around, and it needed some more fancy stitching on it, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And so I looked at it and I thought, well, if I cut it up the middle, I'll just show you some of the stitching. I thought if I cut it up the middle and then stitch it into one long bit, it can be, you know, like a toran or a pelmet, or it can go over the window. So my plan is to put this over that kitchen window there with a new bit of, well not a new bit, another bit of that net. I've got a bigger bit, not net, you know that cream stuff that's hanging there, it's not really net. It was here in the house when I bought it. So I can stitch this to the top of that and then hang that there. And then it's on display, but it's serving a function. It's not taking up wall space as such, you know. So I've finished the fancy stitching. There were some areas that I hadn't yet stitched. Look at that gorgeous eco print there. Yeah, you see, so I cut it. This is the cut edge, because that got cut through. That there was attached to that there. So it was a rectangle, I just cut it up the middle and then sewed it end to end. And where I sewed it end to end, I just literally, where are we? There we go. I just made a seam in the backing. I unpicked some of the basting and I just made a seam in the backing cloth, and then pressed it open with my fingers. I don't know if, you know, so it's now, I mean, I'm not worried about the back being a bit messy. And I sewed some dark cloth behind the cut work because the cut work was just open. So I just sewed some dark bits behind. So that's waiting. I need to hem the bit of, you know, not net. I think it's they're Polly Wolly cotton sheer curtains. that were in here when I came here. And there's Mrs. Mouse that lovely Dawn in Australia sent me. Say hello, Mrs. Mouse. She says hello. And this is a journal that I'm going to show you over on Ko-fi soon. And then the rest of the stuff sitting there is all my eco-print stuff, and that will be coming here on the main channel probably next Friday, the part 1 of that, making that journal with all the eco-print cloth and paper. So that's me. I'll go and film a little bit outside briefly, and then I'll go and sit in my chair and have a little chat with you. Okay, I'm outside. It seems pretty quiet. I don't think I've shown you outside before. So I've got this little garden area just at this side, going up to that little fence there that one of the neighbours put up for me as a temporary measure to keep Stella in. And I've also got garden going all around the outside of the park home. You can see Fredfred's cat flap there in the door. Stella's doing a wee. That's twice in one video, Stella. Anyway, so I've got this table which came out of Ilminster Art Centre where I used to teach. They replaced all their tables. And it's been to France and back, and it's now outside here. I have varnished it to protect it a bit. I did sand it a little bit, but not much, because all the paint marks on it are from Art Centre workshops. I just love the history of it. So that's there as an outside workspace. And underneath are my old pots and pans, and you know, for my natural dyeing and so on, and some rusty bits. And in that trunk there, which I also brought back from France with me, are more natural dyeing supplies, because that trunk is watertight. And then I've got a little shed, a little she shed. Go around gently and see my recycling. And a lawnmower that another neighbour gave me. Very kind of her. And I live at number 14, but I'm not saying more than that in case, you know, you're not supposed to say it on the internet, are you? Where you live. So anyway, so there's the IKEA unit in my little shed, and it just, so the sawing off the ends was not a waste of time, because it wouldn't have fit otherwise. And there's Fredfred's cat basket for when he has to go to the vet. You don't need to see the rubbish bin and all that. That's all my spare decorating supplies up there from when I decorated. But just to show you quickly, I have to be careful, the floor's a bit rotten. That'll be a job for next summer. I'll just show you. Look, I need to sort that out. But under here, sorry, there's an old breadboard. This is my little electric plate that I now will have to use for eco-printing, because I'm not allowed fires. That's just the box that my router for the Wi-Fi came in. That's irrelevant. But I've got here a stack of leaves. Now I won't leave them like this long term. Sorry it's so wobbly, because they might go mouldy. But I just wanted to show you, they've been there a few days. I just thought I'd just pick up a few more leaves while they're still green. And they're just in quite thick layers, just like that, between these pieces of kitchen roll. With the weight, that box is just there to keep them flat, and then that's on top as a weight. And then when I get round to it, I shall lay them all out, probably inside, and get them completely dry, and then keep them pressed. And then once they're completely dry, I can put them back in layers. They don't have to be a single layer. And then just keep them pressed, and then I can, all through the winter, I can use those for eco-printing if I want to. And just soak them in warm water for 10 or 15 minutes to make them pliable, and then just use them as if they were, you know, freshly picked. So that's that. So I'm going to go back inside now, because it's a bit cold out here. And it's not very interesting for you to look at a blurry electric hot plate. And I'll go and sit in my chair and have a little chat. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the Stour Head garden of 2,650 acres, and then the little glimpse of my garden, 2 metres by, I don't know, from one extreme to the other anyway is my point. But it's okay, I wouldn't want to look after 2,650 acres, to be honest, and of course it's you can go and look round that. Stells, go down, there's a good girl, there's not room for you here. So I've got here just to show you the books that I bought. Now before I show you this first one, I've got this that a friend gave me some time ago, and it's the French version of Encyclopédie des ouvrages de dames. I'm sure my French pronunciation has got worse since I left, but anyway, by Thérèse de Dillemont, which is a history of Encyclopedia of Needlework, or Women's Work as it's called in French. And this is a little pocket version, although it's quite chunky. And it's just a beautiful book, you know, it's just, look at that. It's just lovely. It's got all different kinds of techniques of embroidery and needlework and so on. So anyway, so at Stour Head, in the little shop there, or there's a little room where they have second-hand books and an honesty box. So I think it was like £2 for a hardback and 50p for a paperback or whatever. You just chose your books and you put your coins in the box. I saw an English version of it. Oh, Stells, a tennis ball's now gone under the sofa. Can I just finish my talking to the people and then get it for you? Is that okay? We'll see if it's okay. Anyway, an English version, I hope that's in shot, which in English is called Encyclopedia of Needlework. Now it's in very poor condition. The cover's coming off, do you see? And this is completely loose, but present. I'm going to Google how rare they are. I don't think they're that rare. I have seen them a lot on eBay and so on. Because I think what I would maybe like to do at one point, I've talked about this before with regards to the, what's it called? You know the, oh, my brain. You know the book that all the junk journalists are using? The Edith Holden, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. Thank you. That book. Someone kindly gave me a copy of that back in the summer. And I've talked about making that into a journal, and I have checked, and there are millions of those books, and they're still in print. The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, and so I would like at one point to make a journal honouring the book, not just trash it, not just cut it up to use the images elsewhere, but to remake an art journal honouring that book. And I think I would like to do something similar with this, being as how it's in such a bad state. So reusing the cover, reusing some of the the contents, the pages, but making an art journal themed around the original book. Before I do that, I'm going to check this edition and so on online to make sure it's not precious. You know what I mean by precious. Of course, all books are precious in a way, but So that was my thought for that one. Cost me £2, but that doesn't mean it's not possibly rare or so forth. The other one I got, heavy books I had to carry quite a long way, was this book, and it's just a beautiful book. I've only flipped through it. It's called The Naming of Names, and it's by Anna Pavard. Now, Anna Pavard wrote a quite famous book here in the UK, at least. Is she British? Called The Tulip, some time ago. Or maybe she is American, I'm not sure. Anyway, but The Naming of Names is about plant hunters, and I talked about plant hunters a little bit in the video, these gentlemen gardeners who went travelling all over the world, and other people, and it was quite a scary and dangerous task sometimes, travelling to places where people hadn't been, or certainly not Westerners, to find rare plant species, and braving all kinds of, going by sea, obviously, they couldn't just hop on an aeroplane, and bringing those species back. And this is more, I think, about finding order in plants, how they were named, and that fascinates me because I'm a bit of a binomial nomenclature nerd, although I can't say it. But, how plants have, well, all living things are categorised by genus, species, family, etc. So this is how order was looked for, the history of that. I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but it's got some beautiful images in it as well. So I'm going to carry on flipping through it for the moment, finish reading what I'm reading at the moment, because I've got a nightstand book. But then I would like to actually read this from cover to cover. Adiantum americanum, the maidenhair fern, and that's from a book that was published in 1635. I mean, it's just an absolute treasure of photographs, of images. What's that one? I'm not going to read you the whole thing. Stells, Smilax China, from an Italian edition of a botanical encyclopedia. The tobacco plant, Nicotiana tabacum. yellow flag. I mean, you know, just go, if you love plants, I saw that and I just swooped. I swooped upon it. Couldn't get my £2 out of my purse fast enough. So, and it's, you know, don't you just love a nice big sturdy book sometimes? So that's that. But before I read that, before I go any further, I am rereading this. Now, I'm sure many of you already know this book. This book was recommended to me, maybe 2 or 3 years ago by my friend Cara, whose exhibition I shared here a little while ago. It's only past, so we only get one bong. Braiding Sweetgrass by the wonderful Robin Wall Kimmerer. And I'm rereading it. It's a wonderful book. If you're interested in nature and science and the human place within the world, and if you liked Elizabeth Gilbert, you'll love it. Liz Gilbert called this book A Hymn of Love to the World. So that's Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I feel like we're turning into a book club. But anyway, if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I think I've talked about it before, and I've talked about Robin's other book called Gathering Moss before, when I've talked about moss and lichen and so on. So that's it, really. I haven't really got much to say about how I feel, apart from to say I feel okay. And I keep saying to myself, I feel okay. Almost with a note of surprise in my voice, you know? You know, there's that thing sometimes when you talk to yourself as if you're someone else. Or is that only me? Do I need to seek help? I don't think so. I'm sure you know what I mean. And like I'm suddenly outside looking in kind of thing. Oh, Stells, please, just 1 minute. Thank you. You know, I'm sort of outside looking in, and I think I'm actually okay, and I'm so grateful for that. I think I've already did a lot of the hard mental work over the last couple of years, and now I'm here and alone. I'm okay. So, you know, thank you so much for all of those of you who keep asking, and you know, I just appreciate you all so much, but I am okay. Amazingly, I'm okay. Witter. If I'm wittering, I must be okay. I've got friends, I've got all of you. I have I have a roof over my head, a cosy little home. I have Stella, who's staring at me, willing me to get off here and go and get her tennis ball out from under the sofa. I have Fredfred asleep on my bed. I'm blessed, and I wish the same joy for all of you in whatever part of the world you're in at the moment and whatever you're experiencing. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, except for thank you so much, as always, for watching and supporting me and being here and being part of this wonderful community. And I look forward to you joining me next time for more Park Home Life Tales. Bye bye.